It is 4 o'clock, June 12th, 2024. I hereby call this meeting of the Cochise County Planning Commission to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
The Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. We have some ground rules. Can we see those on the screen? Please turn off cell phones or silence the ringers. Please be polite to other stakeholders. No applause, no booing, no cheering. If you desire to speak, fill out a speaker information form and submit it to the planning staff before the start of the meeting. This is not required for the docket applicants. Speakers must use the microphone there in the middle to capture comments. Each elected county supervisor appoints 3 commissioners to staggered 4-year term. Up to 3 commissioners are from cities. At least 6 commissioners are from unincorporated areas. A commissioner's service is pro bono. A quorum is 5 commissioners. Special use dockets are approved by this commission. A majority vote passes a motion. A tie vote triggers a rehearing at the next meeting. Appeals of special use decisions are considered by the Board of Supervisors. Appeal procedures can be found on the county website. For additional assistance, contact the case planner. For other docket decisions, other than special use requests, result in a recommendation forwarded by this commission to the Board of Supervisors. A majority vote passes a motion, a tie vote fails. To voice an opinion regarding a recommendation, you may attend the Board of Supervisors public hearing. We observe the following time limits. Each speaker is limited to 5 minutes for call to public, 10 minutes for the applicant's statement, 5 minutes for supporters or those opposed, and 5 minutes for the applicant's rebuttal. Thank you. We'll now do roll call. Mr. Montgomery?
Present.
Mr. Limbach?
Present.
Nathan Watkins?
Present.
Mr. Young?
Present.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Present.
Mr. Martsky?
Present.
Mr. Saunders? He's not online, is he? Thank you. And Ms. Fickett? Present. Kim Depew, District 1 is here. We have a quorum. It's time to approve the previous month's minutes. Does anyone have any comments or corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, could I get a motion to approve? Mr. Martsky?
I move. Accept the minutes as mailed.
Thank you. A second, please. Thank you. One more time, let's approve the minutes. Mr. Montgomery?
I can approve.
Mr. Limbach?
Aye.
Chair Depew approves. Mr. Watkins?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Abstain.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Mr. Martsky?
Aye.
Mr. Saunders is absent. And Ms. Fickett? Aye. Thank you. Our minutes are approved. Moving forward, I would like to exercise discretion on call to public and move that down one item on this agenda. We have a problem with the first docket item. Help me out. I don't have my paper in front of me. The name of the solar project?
Yes, Madam Chair, docket 2407. That is the Dahlia Solar Project near McNeil.
Thank you. This commission will be entertaining a motion to continue that project till September. I have several speaker forums. I would like to know if you folks would like to continue your thoughts till September, or if you would like to be heard in the call to public section. So let's take a, Ms. Gomez, what would your preference be? Thank you. Mr. Lepley? Right. Mr. Baker?
Oh,
Thank you. And Ms. Atchison? Is she online?
Call.
Ms. Atchison, is that you responding?
Yes, this is her.
Do you want to postpone your comments till September or speak today at call to public?
Is the majority call? I'm with the majority.
Madam Chair, I'm going to interrupt you. When the public is given the opportunity to speak, the applicant has an opportunity for rebuttal. And if you do it at call to public, that's not the case.
Right.
And I'm a little concerned about procedure
Mhm.
with that. Technically, this docket is on the agenda, and call to the public is for items that are not on the agenda, even though it's being tabled.
I hear what you're saying. We could ask the people to come again in September.
That would be my preference. It allows for rebuttal by the applicant, and also you're part of the minutes of the meeting that that special use would be actually heard.
So
If you do allow it, there can be no correspondence between the commission and the person
Correct.
speaking out call to the public. There could be no questions asked. So my encouragement for people in the audience is to reattend if possible in September. That way your opinion and your either in support or against is part of the record of the meeting that, and that's fine, you can still continue to speak. I'm just letting everybody know. Your comments will be part of the minutes of the meeting when that decision is made. But if you still choose to entertain a call to the public, that's fine. We can't prevent people from speaking, but just wanted to make you aware of that.
So can we do a quick show of hands on the commission? How should we proceed here? Do you let these folks speak while they're here, or?
It'll be at your discretion, Madam Chair.
I would like to let them speak. They've driven a long way.
agreed.
So having said that, let's go ahead and entertain the motion to table.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the continuance of docket SU 2407 until, is that the motion you're suggesting or the motion to allow them to speak? Until September 11, 2024, regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Thank you. Do I have a second on that continuance? Mr. Martsky, thank you. Let's take a vote to continue that item. Mr. Montgomery?
Aye.
Mr. Limbach?
Aye.
Mr. Watkins?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Mr. Martsky?
Aye.
Ms. Fickett? Aye. Chair votes aye. This docket item is continued to September. Thank you for your patience. Let's go ahead with call to public. Pursuant to ARS Section 38-431.01H, this is an opportunity for the public to comment. Individuals are invited to address the commission on any issue within the commission's jurisdiction. Since commissioners may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda, commission action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date. Staff, remind us how much time we have on call to public? 5 minutes?
5 minutes.
Thank you very much. First, I'd like to call Christine Atchison online. Ms. Atchison, you have 5 minutes. Please state your name and address.
My name is Christine Atchison. I live at 4440 West Prince Road in McNeil, Arizona. As you can tell, my address is very close to the site where the Dahlia wants to be where the parcels are located at. I understand this is a special use project, But considering the neighbors around it, I do believe that it's very close proximity to the other residents around it, including my house as well. I understand that you're revamping your comprehension plan, and I'm not exactly sure what the updates in it. It is outdated for the past, I think it's due time. It's about 9 years. And I don't know if it has anything in there about the industrial aspect of the special uses permits that are in close proximity to residents around it. I really think that should be something to be taken into consideration. The solar project is 600 acres. Anything with 600 acres and solar panels is going to produce a lot of heat, and it's really going to affect the residents around it. For right now, that's really all I have for right now.
Thank you, Ms. Atchison. Mr. Dan Baker, please. What's your name and address first?
Dan Baker, 4440 West Prince. How's everyone doing? And I would like to pass this around. That way you can see the 10 items from, PFAS, Gen X, ingredients that's made to have these panels. At about 5,000, anything more than that, it is a danger to all of our health. It will contaminate the lakes. I wrote a book. It's, you can pick it up. It deals with what we're going through right now, from civil rights being broken to these dangers, the chemicals that our constituents here should know about. But unfortunately, somehow, the environment here doesn't comprehend that cadmium is poisonous. That when you have 17 million panels, eventually we will all suffer. The rate will go up at an exponential level. That's why this book is called American. And that's Chernobyl. We're living it here. A lot of multinationals doing with this project. I investigated. I went, one of their offices is in the hotel room in Hyatt. Peter's the manager. I'll look it up. It's their headquarters. I'd love everybody to scan this, because then everybody here is aware of the toxins we're releasing in our environment. I have had my EPA certification of lead. That project has 4,000 tons of lead. I mean, can anybody here look at me in the eyes and tell me it's not going to affect little kids in our community? It's almost disgusting what I see happening. It's not maybe because people didn't know the destruction. A lot of advanced nations like the EU are going away from this technology. This is yesterday's technology. When you have to have like 75 million watts. This project's going to be in a flood zone. Anything that touches that is dead. Remember, I've seen lakes there. I have ranchers here that's been here 70 years telling me they've seen a big lake, including first responders. I will be speaking and educating them on how to deal with PV systems, because somehow here we forgot. There's no way we can deal with these. If one of these burn right now, the objective is to let it burn. Did you all know that? I've taken the time to educate the community, so please understand. And this is a nonfiction book that's out right now. And I'm an expert in many things. And I have hundreds of expert witnesses. I've had this too much games. I've done building in cities. I'm telling you the dangers we are all about to absorb on the multinationals making money off the back ends of our stupidity. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you. Appreciate it. But I would love to pass this, scan it, and at least then you can understand what we're being bamboozled as a community here. You know? So,
Thank you, Mr. Baker.
thank you all. Thank you again. Here goes.
Kathleen Gomez, please.
Good afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for letting us speak on this issue. My name is Kathleen Gomez. I live in 2350 12th Street, East 12th Street in Douglas, Arizona. So we know that any area that has been cleared and developed for the purpose of solar panel farms is considered a lost habitat. We know that solar farms require a significant amount of water, something we do not have an abundance of, and solar panels contain hazardous materials like cadmium, and it will get out if panels are broken or in a fire. We learned a couple of days ago, or I learned a couple of days ago, that the applicant asked to postpone coming before you until September 11th. I understand that they now want to pivot and reduce their footprint to a battery storage facility. This, in my opinion, should just send a huge amount of red flags to you all. You can't pivot like that from going to a solar farm that for 575 acres that could put 2,000 panels on each acre to all of a sudden they want to reduce their footprint and they now want to be a battery storage facility, which I've been trying to find out what that is. And it's very, very difficult to find out. Just to me, without all the expertise that other people have, it doesn't sound like a good thing. September 11th to that date is a very, very busy date. It's after Labor Day. There's a huge election going on. And is that a date that they chose, or maybe you all chose, or maybe we should do it after the election so that people have time to come and speak before you, especially with a whole new board of supervisors, whoever they may want to have decision-making on something that's as crucial as this. Again, like I was saying, I just haven't been able to find conclusive definition of what a solar battery storage facility does. How much acres does that take? What happens if there's a fire? They're in a floodplain. Is there insurance? Where's the liability? Do they have insurance to cover their liability? And those people who live next to it, are they going to be able to get insurance? Is it something that we know 100% that someone living adjacent to either a solar farm or a battery storage facility would be able to get? It isn't a floodplain. I mean, I know a lot of people who are new to this environment say, well, look, it's as dry as can be. But we all know who've lived here for generations that can happen at any time. It's in a floodplain. So we could have an incredible monsoon one year. And if this battery storage facility is there, what does that mean if it's flooded? From what I understand, it's not a good situation. If there is a fire, what is the plan? What's going to occur? I mean, is there a plan Cochise County has for any kind of fire that occurs in a solar farm or a battery storage facility? I couldn't find it. And does there need to be a 2-mile radius? I know that needs to be done in a solar farm. Does it need to be done for a battery storage facility? What vetting process has been taken by the county to make sure that this company is a viable one with an environmental footprint that we would want to see in our county? In the comprehensive plan that you go in 2008, they did a significant outreach to the public. That was 16 years ago. And in that comprehensive plan, it says that, it was a significant outreach to find out what this community wanted their county to be. From what I understand from talking to people, it's not a county that's going to be made up of solar farms. Once those solar farms go in, the habitat is gone. What we once know, this county will never come back. From what I understand, that's not what people want. Now, this study was done, this outreach was done 16 years ago. That's not really an outreach anymore. That's so outdated, I don't know what to say. To ensure the health, welfare, and I'm kind of actually talking from what I read in the comprehensive plan, to ensure the health, welfare, and safety of the county citizens, industrial rezoning or special uses will be evaluated according to the following factors: impact on sensitive land uses such as schools, residentially developed or zoned areas, hospitals, and parks, impact on air, floodplains, wells, water systems, and aquifers, suitability of soils, transportation. The other question is, where is this power going to? Is it being sold to El Paso or Tucson? If we're putting up the solar farms, are we going to be the beneficiary of this energy? From what I've understood, what's going up in Wilcox Playa, that energy is going to be sold to Tucson and to El Paso. And if I'm wrong, please correct me. The Plan on Renewable Energy claims that there are 770,000 acres for small-scale solar projects and 640,000 acres for large-scale solar projects. Each acre, as I understand, can have 2,000 solar panels. So is that a minute or is it over?
It's over.
Okay. So just thank you very much. Please think about delaying any kind of decision until after November election. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gomez. Dan Lovely, please.
Hello. I gave you all research analysis. My name is Ben Lapley. I'm a resident here. I'm also in the solar industry. I've worked on, for many years, research projects funded by the Department of Energy, working with University of Arizona and UC Merced, both leaders in solar. What you've heard from the people before me is a lot of fear and a lot of concerns, much of which I agree with, but there is a lot of really bad misinformation. It is true that some solar panels have cadmium telluride. These do not. I looked up, I was given the make and model of the solar panels and the project description. These panels do not have cadmium telluride. They're silicon panels. They're completely inert. I helped author a study on the toxicity of solar panels and any projects I'm involved with, which I am not in any way involved with this project whatsoever, but any of my projects use regular solar panels such as this one. So any mention of PFAS or cadmium telluride, that's false. That's unfortunately misleading scare tactic by the fossil fuel industry put out to the public to scare folks like this. I would agree very much with the impacts on wildlife, on the scenic setting, and so forth. And I would really encourage planning and zoning to look at what other counties in Arizona are doing, and also look into federal programs for dual use solar. So using tailings piles that Freeport has right over there, or in Douglas where the smelter was, those should be covered with solar panels first, because they've already gone through EPA, they've already had their assessments, and they're already disturbed lands, and wildlife would not be disturbed in those locations. Another big point of misinformation, and this one is huge, is water use. That is an absolute lie. Solar panels offset the use of water because thermoelectric power plants use an immense amount of water in their steam turbines and in their cooling towers. That is the largest industrial user of water in the state, are power plants like the Apache plant. Okay, solar panels consume zero water, and during construction, they're cleaned with a water truck. How many gallons is a water truck? 8,000 gallons. Okay, that's not a lot of water. So I spent some time, I actually did a model, a computer model of this project. I recreated it to calculate how many acre feet of water is saved. You have that information in the study. That is how many acre feet of water would be saved and offset from the Apache plant. And that is a big deal because obviously, as you know, water is dwindling, and that is one of the biggest consumptive users of water. So there is an immense amount of misinformation put out by the fossil fuel industry that you guys need to be aware of. My contact info is on the report I gave. I'm a local resident. I'm a local expert. I'm even working on the Douglas parking solar project and the Bisbee parking solar project too. So I'm invested in here. I share a lot of the concerns about using land that the wilderness uses. There's another technology that you guys should know about, and that's agrivoltaics. This is where you have solar panels and you've got either farmland under it or grazing under it. And that's something that U of A is researching and that a lot of other states are already deploying. And that allows lots of jobs and it saves water as well too. So anyways, just really beware of misinformation and false information. And I feel really bad for the folks that are going to live next to this project, the real impacts that they have, but I feel even worse at the misinformation that they've been bamboozled by. And I hope you guys don't follow in that same way. Thank you. I'd be happy to answer questions via email or whatever, if anyone has them.
Thank you, Mr. Lepley. That is all the request to speak forms I have. Is there anyone online or in the room who we've neglected? Very well. Call to public is closed.
We have, Madam Chair, it appears we do have someone online who wishes to speak.
As a call to public subject.
Yes, if I may.
Your name and address, please. 5 minutes.
My name is Hoang Quan. That's spelled Hoangquan. And my address is at 4747 South Santa Claus Lane in Wilcox, Arizona, close to the playa. And on docket number SU 2407, I echo many of the same sentiments as expressed by previous speakers. I understand that the environmental impact to the local residents is enormous. I want to stress the importance of contaminants released to the air and potentially into the water supply when a catastrophe may happen, and we can never predict when it will be, but I do not yet see any mitigation plans for what would happen, as previous speakers have mentioned, the flooding, which would cause shorts in circuits and contamination. Given that the previous speaker has mentioned that there's no cadmium involved in the construction of these panels, there are other heavy metals such as lead and cobalt, nickel, things that could leach out into the environment, especially in a flood or in a fire. With no mitigation plan for these two potential occurrences, we could anticipate contamination wider than the immediate area and seeping into the water supply. So my concern remains for all of these solar projects that the mitigation plans for emergencies need to be documented and enforced. Without that, the residents around the area would be severely impacted, and potentially all of us would be impacted once these contaminants leach into the water supply. And so I would like to make an urgent and hopefully timely request before too many of these solar farms get put in, that a mitigation plan as to what happens for flooding and fire, and also the enforcement of safety procedures to be monitored on these solar projects so that nearby residents are not endangered and that collectively all of our water supply within this county is not contaminated. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Kwon. Anyone else, Mr. Taylor?
Yes, Madam Chair, we do have one additional individual, Mr. Jericho.
Yes, sir.
Return 5 minutes, your name and address.
My name is Jericho Yoden, and I'm located at 1793 North Old Ranch Road in Dragoon. I don't know if it's time yet. I'm here to address docket SU 2409.
Sir, can we ask you to hang on? There will be an appropriate time for you to speak on that item.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. I think call to public is now closed appropriately. Let's move on to item number 2, please.
Can I ask a question first, Chairman?
Mr. Montgomery.
Okay. Concerning the testimony we've just heard now, and that this item is delayed until September at this point, will we expect a full presentation at that time from the promoters? And all this testimony will be in the minutes for that presentation?
Well, no, I believe that was Mr. Coxworth's point. Those are in the minutes for today. So the folks need to repeat their efforts to be in the minutes in September.
So if there were questions for that testimony, would it come in September or today?
Nothing in call to the public will extend to that September meeting.
Mhm.
If these folks would like their voice part of the official record concerning this docket, they need to participate in that September meeting or provide it in writing, email. There's other options to providing input than just speaking.
Then I suppose what we've heard just now would be repeated in September if these folks were to come back.
Correct.
Okay.
We good?
This is
Item
Mr. Young. This is Mr. Young. I do have a question. I believe it was 2 or 3 speakers ago, the gentleman who is very versed in this area never gave an address. I'd like to know where he lives and where his official residence is.
Mr. Lepley, would you mind reiterating your name and address? Make sure we didn't miss it.
Ben Lepley, 27 Tempe, Bisbee, Arizona.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Young, for noticing that. Okay, are we safe to proceed, everyone?
Can I have one more question?
Mr. Montgomery, you go.
At least one more, okay. Regarding the timing for the next meeting, I know we've always had the middle of the month on the Wednesday. Is that somehow statutory or can it be changed?
September or next month? Or?
Well, I mean, I'm curious about one of the questions we had concerning major elections in the area and then having that meeting. There would assume be new personnel everywhere or possibly everywhere by September. And I just wonder, is that date locked in forever? If there were a public request, could it be changed?
It has been published, the date. We do try to avoid holidays. My preference is to keep it where it's at. September 11th, we will have other applicants. We do notice it's the second Wednesday of every month. Unless when we put this together, the schedule at the beginning of the year, we may adjust the date, but not to get into a discussion about it, but I don't understand the elections in July and November, so I don't understand the conflict with the election, but nobody is seated until next year, and this decision will be made this year.
Okay.
I was wondering if not the meeting date, but this docket presentation, could that be moved to November?
The applicant has requested September 11th to be tabled to time certain, so we should honor that.
Thank you.
Good, thank you.
All right. Let's move to docket SU 24-08, Camp Naco. The applicant is Mr. Norman, representing the city of Bisbee. Is Mr. Norman present? Hold on, sir. We'll call for you in just a moment. Mr. Taylor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is the staff presentation for docket SU 24-08. This is a special use request by the city of Bisbee for the Camp Naco Restoration and Redevelopment Project, establishing the site as a historic and cultural exhibit and community resource. Again, the applicant is City of Bisbee and Mr. Norman is present. The two parcels involved are located at 2118 and 2133 West Newell Street. Both parcels are zoned R9. The plan designation for both parcels, as identified in the NACO area plan, is recreational open space. Growth area is category C. Current use is a former military encampment. Proposed use is historic, exhibit, and community resource. Vicinity map demonstrates the property's location at Newell Street and Wilson Road in Naco, located approximately 3 miles south of Highway 92 and 3/4 of a mile west of Naco Highway. This exhibit shows the property location as well as the zoning. Again, R9 with RU4 and PD zoning over in the Camp Riff area, which is a recent public hearing item. The applicant's site plan demonstrates the existing structures on the property and the proposed redevelopment of the site. The quadrangles will be reestablished. The former officers' quarters will be established as residential units. There will be a lot of community resource activity there. I will defer to the applicant as far as the specific details on the uses identified at the present time. About the approximate 1/3 of the north parcel, the north 1/3 of the north parcel would be retained as open space as far as gathering space, sport court, as well as maybe some trails and a bird watching platform. Some very brief project details. The buildings include rehabilitated structures, new maintenance and office garage, pavilion, playground, and bird observation deck. Future uses can include museum, library, community center, art studios, as well as residences. Operations at this time are anticipated to be the site would be accessible 7 days per week. The public space at the north of the north parcel, the open recreational area, would be available sun up to sundown to the public. And there would be, as occurs now, occasional special and commemorative events on the site. Drone imagery showing the property. This would be viewing north from the south side of Newell Street, showing the quadrangle structures as well as some of the former officers' quarters in the foreground as well as to the right. An additional, this image is from viewing from the north towards the south, again showing those same structures in the vicinity of Wilson Road and Newell Street. As presented, Section 2.48 of the zoning regulations identify factors which are used to evaluate special use requests. As presented, there are 9 applicable factors, with 9 factors complying for this project. The non-applicable factor, obviously, is the hazardous materials, as there is no proposed use of hazardous materials for this project. Factors in favor of approval complies with 9 of 9 applicable factors, and the approval of a special use would authorize a community resource that captures both Camp Naco's unique history and provides a learning and social space for residents and visitors. Staff has not identified any factors not in favor. As part of the citizen review and public notification process, the applicant did send out letters to property owners within, I believe it was 1,000 feet. On March 26th, staff followed that up with our typical public hearing notification requirements between 22 and 23 May, wherein we sent out notices, we posted the property and published a legal advertisement. To be specific, 79 notices were mailed by the county to property owners within 500 feet. Staff has received 3 responses in favor and a letter in support from the Arizona Preservation Foundation. Staff also received 8 responses in support from interested parties outside the 500-foot notification area. Madam Chair and Commissioners, that concludes staff's presentation of docket SU 2408. We are available for your questions, and the applicant is present.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Mr. Norman, you have 10 minutes. Please state your name and address before you speak.
Good afternoon. My name is Mike Norman. I work for the City of Bisbee. I'm the construction manager for the Camp Naco renovation project. And I live at 602 Bisbee Road, but representing the City of Bisbee. City Hall is located at 76 Erie Street in Bisbee. And so this presentation we put together, and I'll go through it fairly quickly since I only have 10 minutes, but this shows the Camp Naco location. It's located on both the north and south side of Newell Road at the corner of Wilson Road.
It's approximately 16 acres, currently zoned residential. And we're requesting a special use permit to rehabilitate the 20 historic adobe structures on the site and initiate community programming. And I can go into that a little bit further. This just talks a little bit about the history and why this is historically significant project. The camp was originally built in 1919, around the time of the Mexican Revolution, and around the time just after World War I, where there are concerns about the border security. It was one of 35 camps that were built along the border from Nogales to, I believe, Brownsville, Texas. And of those 35 camps, Camp Naco is the only one that's still remaining. And it was the only one of 2 that were constructed of adobe. So the adobe construction contributes to its the architectural significance and the historical significance. It was home to the 9th and 10th Cavalry and 25th Infantry of the African American troops, the Buffalo Soldiers, again contributing to its historical significance. And once things kind of settled down on the border and there was a return to normalcy, the camp was decommissioned in 1923. During the 1930s, it was used by the Civilian Conservation Corps, and then later the Newell family that owned the property moved onto the site and rented many of the houses out. There's several people in the community that actually lived here. In fact, Christine Rhodes is here, and when she was young, she lived in one of these houses. Slide. It's a little more of the history. It was in the 90s purchased by Vision Quest. They were not able to get the zoning that they needed for the project that they had proposed. There was some arson fires. There was asbestos roofing. There was a lot of issues that needed to be addressed. The town of Huachuca City purchased it from Vision Quest in 2006, and they were able to get some grant funding to address the asbestos roofing and also install the fence around the site to protect it from further damage. It was listed as one of America's 11 most endangered historic sites in the whole country, and following that, the city of Bisbee purchased it from Huachuca City, as you can see, in 2018. After the listing as one of the 11 most endangered historic sites, the city obtained 2 grants, one from the Mellon Foundation, the other from the governor's office, Governor Ducey. Total of those 2 grants is $8.1 million. And that's funding for construction and the programming on the site. So 3 objectives to the project is the rehabilitation of the buildings and the site. The second is community programming, so place-based programming that celebrates the diverse historical narratives of Camp Naco as a foundation for historical and contemporary cultural production and sustainable community development. And then organizational sustainability. So part of that grant funding is intended to help the Naco Heritage Alliance establish their organizational capacity. We're in the process now of adding board members and providing some training to the new board of directors. Their role will be to take care of fundraising and funding and maintaining the project into the future. The goal here is also to create Camp Naco as a destination that commemorates the legacy of the Buffalo Soldiers in the American Southwest, celebrates the culture we have here in the borderlands, the diverse arts, culture, and history, and for the community of Naco, serves as a community resource for the residents of Naco. So again, here on the north parcel, this is the site master plan. As staff mentioned, the northern third is going to be retained as open space with walking trails, community garden space, half-court basketball, area, a playground, outdoor pavilions, and bird watching areas. The center portion where the historic buildings are located, the buildings are going to be renovated. The building on the bottom left, the former hospital, will be the museum. The barracks and barracks buildings, the three that are still standing, will be classrooms, art studios, and support space for the theater productions, which the two buildings that collapsed in the East Quad, where the slabs and portions of the walls are still remaining, will be outdoor stage areas for small concerts and theater productions. The former Officers Club in the East Quad will be a library and community center. We're going to have space for food truck stalls, shade structures, and public picnic area in that section as well. Again, this just kind of shows the north parcel, and the buildings, and kind of identifies what their different uses are. The small houses on the east side, there's only one that's still intact, and it's going to be renovated in phase 1, and that will provide housing for the site manager, site caretaker. The other small houses the plan is to rebuild those depending on the availability of funding. And those residents would be available for what we've called workforce housing or artists and scholars residents. Workforce housing would be for essential workers such as teachers, healthcare workers, public safety, and public and nonprofit support staff. I think go to the next one. This shows the south of Newell. There's 4 former officers' houses on the south side. The two to the east were burned in an arson fire, and those will be rebuilt depending on availability of funding in the future. But again, workforce housing or artist, scholar, and residence housing. The 2 houses that are still intact on the west portion, one will be renovated as office space for the museum and for the Naco Heritage Alliance, and the other would be housing. Primarily on the south side, we also have parking. The parking lot kind of for the regular everyday use, and then a fairly large parking lot on the very south will be for event parking or overflow parking. On the southeast corner behind the water storage tanks, we're planning to put in the maintenance facility. So basically it'll be a garage and a small modular building that will be the maintenance office, and the garage will be to house the tractor and other equipment to maintain the site. The water tower that's there will be preserved as it is, and that's the south side. One of the things we're looking at is installing, in terms of managing the rainwater and the runoff, is installing a rainwater storage tank. So we're going to do rainwater harvesting off the buildings and store it in I think it's over 100,000 gallon storage tank on the site, and that water would be used to irrigate the landscaping in the north portion. We're also going to install, I spoke with Jesse Morales with the Naco Fire District, and we're going to install a valve on that so that it could be a resource as well for the fire department in the event of an emergency. And I see my time is up, so I'll just be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gold. We may call you back. This is the time for public hearing. I do have some requests from other persons to speak. Jesus Arietta. You have 5 minutes. Name and address before you begin.
Madam Chair, Board, thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Jesus Arrieta, and I'm at 3768 South Rodriguez Avenue in Naco, Arizona. Now, I really approve or support this whole initiative. The only thing I would like to add is the commission considering relinquishing Newell Street from property line to property line. Reason behind that is, as you saw, it's divided and all the traffic and parking would be to the south. So to ease people going back and forth, we close off Newell Street and it belongs to part of the Naco, part of the camp. As you're all aware, most of the traffic that uses that road is international traffic on the way to 92 and Sierra Vista. So putting up signs, speed bumps, I don't think is really going to be effective. I think relinquishing that portion of the road and developing Hughes Road to the north would actually just divert the traffic and leave the camp as one unit. Just merging the two properties, and that way visitors can go in and out without any hazards or vehicles trying to traverse that Newell Street. Aside from that, I really support this project, and I hope it gets approved. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Next is Krista Mamuska. Did I butcher your name?
No, actually, you will.
Okay, very good. Your name and address, please. 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, and thank you all for the opportunity to speak. My name is Krista Mamuska, and I am at 1791 West Newell Street in Naco, Arizona. I support Camp Naco, docket number SU2408, Camp Naco, with a request for the special use permit. I'm in support of the request because I truly believe Camp Naco will be beneficial as and well-needed resource for the local residents and visitors from afar alike. I believe the proposed project will bring much needed revitalization to the landscape and the area alike. I believe the proposed project will preserve while teaching history, as well as offer many opportunities to the community and its residents, as well as teaching vital information to the future generations. If not for the preservation and education of history, it could become lost in the future generations. It's vital to preserve and teach it to the future generation to come, as well as the present generation that is here as well. Camp Naco is a vital part of the community. Preservation of the camp and its grounds, as well as the projected proposal, will improve the quality of the area by revitalization and the quality of life of the local residents and visitors to the area alike. I support and believe in Camp Naco. It is a crucial project for the area. The proposed project will bring in much needed infrastructure, community activities, and jobs as well, which are well needed in the area as well. I'm respectfully requesting that the Planning Commission please consider Camp Naco for a special use permit. Thank you, board members, for your time and consideration and in the matter. And any questions?
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
David Lloyd. Address first, please, Mr.
David
Lloyd.
Lloyd, 3606 Wilson. Thank you for being here and listening to this. Very briefly, I wrote a letter to the supervisors and made 4 simple points in support. The first is that I abut the property on the entire west side, so across Wilson Road. And the second is it has 3 mandates, and I will benefit by all of them. And the third is that they've done significant outreach to the community, and they've incorporated suggestions, which is very appreciated. And the fourth is, I forget. There's a good one though. That I strongly support it. I think it's a good thing. I mainly came in case you had questions. And aside from that, thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. Pro bono and all that. So, you're appreciated. Thank you. Any questions?
No, sir. Thank you, Mr. Lloyd. Is there anyone else online that wishes to comment? Thank you. This is the time for the applicant's rebuttal. Mr. Norman, you want to waive that moment?
Yeah,
Thank you.
appreciate everybody's support.
Public hearing portion is closed. This is the time for commission discussion. We have questions for the applicant or staff. Mr. LeBlanc? Nothing? We're all taking notes.
I have, Madam Chair,
Mr. Watkins.
as brought up by the road, is it possible to get with the county engineers and maybe move traffic to the north side so you don't have Mill Road taking all the traffic?
Following the special use permit, we'll be submitting plans for review for the building permits, but that's not something that we've discussed with staff yet, but we can take that up, explore that option, especially before we get to final design on that. But yeah, I mean, being out there a lot myself, I do notice that a lot of the traffic, of course, does come down Wilson and then Newell. Yeah, it could be just diverted around to, is it Zepeda? The street that is just to the east of the camp there. I know Hughes is not developed currently. There's a right-of-way there, and I don't know the status of that right-of-way if it's still in the public domain. But yeah, that's something I think we could explore further with the county staff, the engineering staff. It is a good suggestion. We really didn't think it was a possibility, but it would definitely be beneficial to the project.
So I have a question directed to Mr. Norman and or staff. Actually, I have two. I noticed on one of the slides there was a Black Prince Road and a Dragoon Road. Are those roads or are they driveways? What are those on the south portion of the property?
Madam Chair, those roads would be affiliated with the next docket. That would be 2409.
Okay, my mistake. I thought they were on one of those slides. I thought it was odd that we had the same road twice, the same. You think? So my second question then is similar to what you all have been discussing. The speed humps on Newell and Wilson seem like a good idea. But my question is, how many daily commuters use that road through there, Wilson, down to Newell? Are we going to be interrupting community activity?
Madam Chair, we don't have the trip data necessarily for Newell, but when we've attended some of the community outreach meetings, doing like a tabletop, potentially with some lighting, was proposed. I think before the permitting stage, as Mr. Norman alluded to, there would need to be at least a couple of consultations with specifically our engineering department as to the viability of looking for alternate routes or some additional traffic calming techniques that could be used on Newell.
That was the only concern I had. Are there any further questions? This is the time for the planning director summary and recommendation, Mr. Taylor. Thank you, Mr. Norman.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Based on the factors in favor of approval, staff recommends approval of docket SU 2408 for the restoration and redevelopment of Camp Naco with the following conditions. Buildings on the main campus are accessible between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. 7 days per week. Outdoor learning and recreational areas to the north end of the campus are accessible between sunrise and sunset 7 days per week. Special or commemorative events may occur no later than 8 p.m. on Sundays through Thursdays and 10 p.m. Fridays and Saturdays. Standard conditions relative to permitting timeframes, modifications, et cetera, are not being adjusted by this special use. And I would like to add that the condition was generally informed by documents provided by the applicant and included in their narrative relative to operating hours. These are similar to operating hours we've seen for a prior project that was occurring to the east on Newell. That concludes staff's summary. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Would like to call for the motion.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Limbach,
I move to approve docket SU 24-08 with conditions of approval recommended by staff. The factors in favor of approval constituting the findings of fact.
a second. Tomarski, thank you. Is there any further discussion of this motion? Hearing none, I will call for the question. We'll start in District 3. Ms. Fickett?
Aye.
Mr. Martsky?
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mr. Watkins?
Aye.
Mr. Limbach?
Aye.
And Mr. Montgomery?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. It is unanimous. This motion carries. Congratulations. And it is a good one. Very interesting. An individual disagreeing with this action has the right to appeal to the Board of Supervisors within 15 days. An application for appeal is available from the clerk at the office Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, or online at cochise.az.gov. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 3, SU 24-09. This is the Dragoon store. Applicants are Travis and Heather Gear. Are you present? Mr. and Ms. Gear? Thank you. There you are. Mr. Taylor, your report, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. This is the staff presentation for docket SU 24-09, a special use authorization for a grocery store in Dragoon. The applicants are Travis and Heather Gear. The property is located at 1835 North Old Ranch Road, APN 208-78028. The property is zoned R9, Residence District. The plan designation is neighborhood conservation. The growth area is C, rural community areas. The existing use of the building is for an Airbnb. Proposed uses will be the institution of a grocery store in addition to that Airbnb, which is a use permitted by right within R9. Demonstrating on the location map, the property is located approximately 3.5 miles from Interstate 10 in Dragoon. The area is predominantly zoned residential, R9 and R18. There was one parcel within 300 feet that is already zoned business. Again, this is a special use request for a grocery store within an existing building. The applicant site plan shows the general footprint of the structures. At the bottom left-hand corner is the existing grocery store location. This was originally built in, we believe, 1915, possibly a little bit earlier, as a filling station and general store. The section just to the right of that would be where the Airbnb is located. There are a few additional improvements on the property, and the property owner has also demonstrated some of the proposed potential future parking areas to support the use. Some brief project details. The property actually measures just over 12,000 square feet. Again, there is an active Airbnb on the property. Some of the items produced or available for sale at the grocery store, should it be approved, would be fresh produce, coffee, ice cream, baked goods, with some gift items as well. Operations are anticipated to be 7 a.m. through 5 p.m., 5 days per week. And I believe it's March to October would probably be the peak, basically a seasonal peak trips. So the drone imagery here shows the unusual confluence of Dragoon Road, Black Prince Road, Old Ranch Road, as well as the Southern Pacific Railroad right-of-way. The property is located in the bottom left-hand corner. An additional image, which would be viewing to the southeast, again showing Dragoon and Old Ranch Roads, as well as the subject property, and showing that so this area was actually platted in 1909. One of the small towns in Arizona, of which there are many that sprung up along the railroad. And the building is a prominent location as it's located right at the turn of Dragoon Road. Some additional shots showing the existing structure. The top image is viewing Dragoon Road, which would be more or less to the north or to the west. The bottom shot would be showing Black Prince Road. So as proposed, 9 applicable factors for this special use application. As presented, the application complies with 9 of 10 factors. Again, as with the previous docket, there are no hazardous materials proposed for this use. So for factors in favor of approval of this application, it complies with 9 of 9 applicable factors. Business uses are appropriate at intersections and along major roadways. Dragoon Road is considered a major arterial. Obviously, it filters tremendous amounts of traffic. Well, not tremendous, but it filters traffic out to I-10. This is an adaptive reuse opportunity promoting rehabilitation and preservation of the historically significant building. And staff has received support from nearby property owners and the broader community. Staff has not identified any factors not in favor. As part of the citizen review and public notification process, the applicant did mail letters to owners within 300 feet. On 20 April, staff followed that up between 22 and 24 May, mailing notices to property owners within 300 feet, as well as posting the property and publishing a legal ad. There were 22 notices mailed by the county. And just a quick point on the image, again, this is a historic structure believed to have been built in 1915 or possibly earlier. And this structure was added to the National Register in 2004. This map demonstrates the response. We did receive a response from one property owner who owns 3 parcels. Staff did not receive any opposition from any other property owners within 300 feet. And Madam Chair, that concludes staff's presentation of docket SU 2407, a special use request for a grocery store. We are available for your questions, and the applicant is present.
Thank you. This is the time for the applicant's statement. You have 10 minutes. Please state your name and address before you speak.
Good afternoon. I'm Heather Gear. This is my husband Travis Gear, 1835 North Old Branch Road. We do have a presentation as well, so I'll just wait just one moment for that to get loaded up. Thank you so much for having us here today. We are really excited to be here. We're actually thrilled to share with you this National Historic Treasure in the middle of Dragoon, Arizona. We are really excited to show our plans for revival. And so before we delve into what our aspirations are, I'd like to just give you a quick brief history of the building, a glimpse through time. So if we could go to the first picture, please. This structure stands as a true Western time capsule. It was built in the early 1900s, and all of the materials that went into this building were actually brought to Dragoon over the Southern Pacific Railroad, and that is about 300 feet from this store itself, which is pretty interesting. The building was built by J.H. Smith. We'll go ahead and advance to the next slide here. It was originally called the Smith's Grocery Store, and it was a pioneer in town, being the first building in Dragoon with modern utilities. It had indoor plumbing, gas-powered electric power. It even had a payphone. Over time, it was adapted for the changing needs of the community. You will notice here in this picture that it looks a little bit different than the last picture. They added an awning along the front, and that was over a area where there were 2 bubble pumps for gas back in the 1930s, I believe. J.H. Smith here is shown in the picture himself, and he lived in this home with his wife Annabelle. They had 3 children, and their house was literally right next door to the grocery store. So a typical day or a commute for the Smith family to work would be to jump out of bed and go through the bedroom door and into the store where they would greet their customers. If you want to go to the next slide, please. This is a nice picture that kind of shows the original overhang that was there when it was a gas station. Throughout history, this building has served as a meeting hall, a women's club, a social hub. Ranchers, miners, and railroad workers would all gather here to talk about their business, to socialize. and just to get to know each other was a sense of community. And we're going to go ahead and hit the next one. In our efforts to bring back this building to its original purpose, we have transformed the Smith's living quarters. We'll go to the next page. Visitors can now walk upon the original wood floors. They can cook on that antique stove. They can actually listen to music from the early 1900s on a record player that sits in the living room. Advance across there. And I think we have one more picture that shows that Airbnb as well. It's actually a 2-bedroom Airbnb that sleeps, can sleep up to probably 9 or 10 people. It's pretty large in there. The J.H. Smith building, we can go to the next one. This is the last commercial building still standing in Dragoon. Over time, the depot, the train depot, the hotel, Peak Hotel that was right across the street, those have all been dismantled. So this is really the last living testament of, you know, the early days of Dragoon, and we're really excited to have had an opportunity to breathe some life into it. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Travis, and he's going to talk a little bit about our vision for the future.
The Dragoon General Store will be a multifunctional space catering to the needs of both the local community and visitors passing through. Our primary focus will be on providing convenient store items sourced locally wherever possible to support our regional economy and offer the freshest products to our customers. The first room visitors enter will feature a wide range of convenience items, including local fruits and vegetables, dairy products, bread, and home-baked goods. Additionally, we'll showcase locally made jewelry, crafts, and other artisan products, adding a unique touch to the shopping experience. The Old General Store contains many items that truly showcase the rich history of the area, including an original 1858 framed newspaper that showcases the Butterfield Overland Trail. This historic trail was recently recognized by the National Parks, and we will carry some items that celebrate the historic significance of the local trail and stage stop. One of our standout features will be our commercial nut butter machines, which will produce delicious spreads from locally sourced nuts. The center room will feature an ordering window where we'll craft specialty coffees, refreshing lemonades, and ice cream sundaes. Finally, the room located in the back will be our commercial kitchen, where we'll prepare a variety of grab-and-go foods as well as freshly made sandwiches and barbecue. Our goal is to offer a diverse menu, ensuring there's something for everyone to enjoy. The Dragoon General Store will be more than just a place to stop. It'll be a community hub where locals and visitors alike can come together, connect, shop, and enjoy the best that Dragoon has to offer. Thank you for considering our proposal, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. We may call you back. This is the time for the public hearing. I have one request to speak on this matter. James Schmidt.
Yeah.
Are you?
I think Mr. Jericho.
We did have Mr. Jericho.
Mr. Jericho. You're muted, sir.
Mr. Schmidt, thank you. Just hold on. Do we have Mr. Jericho or no?
We do, Chair, Madam Chair, we do have Mr. Jericho, but he is muted.
All right, Mr. Schmidt, speak first.
Here we go. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you all for being here. I believe that this process that you're going through is very democratic, and it's a very good use of my tax dollars. So I thank you for the work that you're doing. Secondly, I have to apologize to you that in the condition of my hair, because my hair cutter in Wilcox, Arizona, my wife, she had two twins and can't cut my hair. So it's getting quite long. So I apologize for that. This is the second time I've appeared before this committee. It was 15 to 17 years ago when we bought property on Old Ranch Road, just a short distance down from Dragoon, the Dragoon Road. This committee gave me a special use permit, of which we have applied with everything they asked for in all these years and had no issue with it. So I know the process works because we've done it before. I wanted to pass along that Mr. Cutter Weatherby, that owns the Fore Ranch, could not be here today and sends his apologies. because he's very interested. Old Ranch Road ends at his ranch. It's 5 miles from Dragon Road down to his ranch. Jackalope, where I live, is about a little less than a mile down and around the corner. So I send that along for Mr. Weatherby. The controversy concerning, controversy is the wrong word, the concerns of the store, which I happen to support, just, you know, my card, I support the store. But there are those in the community, all 187 of us, primarily elderly and disabled, are not wanting to have more people in our community, and they have that fear. I don't believe the store will bring people that will stay in our community. They'll come in, do their business, and move on. Then there's those 6 residents, 7 total actually counting the corner, who live on Old Ranch Road, who we are continuously experience tourists who go up and down and looking for something, not knowing that it's a dead-end road. And I have a letter from 2021 from the engineering department saying that the property owners own Old Ranch Road, though it's been designated as a public highway being a misnomer in that all public roads that the public uses are public highways. So those folks on Old Ranch Road, there's one in particular who thought they weren't properly notified, yet everyone knows about it, so I'm not sure what the issue is there. Mr. Jericho is concerned about his privacy. I'm concerned about my privacy. I don't think this general store will impact my privacy. And if it does, then we'll come back to this board or to whoever and get help in relationship or to our privacy. I know these people. I watched them build this store. They've done outstanding. It's amazing what they've done to the store. And I hope they get the traffic that they deserve to support that store. I know that Mr. Taylor over here has had a tremendous amount of patience and dug into this pretty far to understand how this store is supposed to work. And it will work according to what they say, just like my property, when I'm telling you 15, 17 years ago, you put stipulations on me on how I could use my special use permit, and I've complied with every one of them. Those people who are just up here will do the same thing. I promise you they will, and you can come to me if they don't. And we'll take care of it because they're good people. The store is a unique idea in that it's a gift shop and a variety of things. It's not a 7-Eleven or Circle K. So it's a stop-in kind of shop, hang around, learn a little bit about Cochise County, something that I've been here 22 years. I've been in Dragon 22 years. I was with the USDA, and I worked with the county sheriff and had a contract with Cochise County. I know a great deal about Cochise County. And it's a place of private people that like their privacy. And we're not intending on infringing on that privacy as much as we possibly can. And if there is some kind of infringement, then we'll work all together to resolve it. There's concern about Old Ranch Road being blocked by lack of parking. The Gears have a commitment to us that they will resolve that. If it becomes an issue, they will resolve it. They will do it. And I know these people, and they will do that. If that's some stipulation that you want to put on it, that doesn't matter to me because we're going to do it anyway. We will keep Old Ranch Road open. And of course, Dragon Road, which is the main corridor for the county, will remain open. So in summary on that, this is a good project. There's a lot of money. It's a beautiful place. It's a historic building. It's in a very private area of 187 people that have a part-time post office and a Baptist church, and that's it. We don't have anything else. And that's all we really want to have there, because we enjoy our privacy. So I don't believe this store is going to impact that in a negative way for the residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have Mr. Jericho unmuted?
Yes, I believe so.
All right, sir, your name and address?
My name is Jericho Ewan. I live at 1793 North Old Ranch Road in Dragon.
Thank you, sir. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you, ma'am. I've also known a little bit about Heather and Travis. I agree they're good people, but the store brings a lot of concern for me. And I've spoken with a number of other people that have the same notion that I do. While on the front end of this, it seems like a good idea that it would provide, additional income or whatever. The concern is threefold. Number one, the store is on a blind corner. Now, the speed limit as you enter the village of Dragoon from I-10 direction drops to, I think it's like 25 as you get next to the post office. And the speed remains the same through the S-curve leaving the village, but people are nowhere near compliant with speed limits, especially in this, coming into the village. The other issue, as addressed by Jim, if you're looking at Old Ranch Road, that becomes problematic and congestible, and it has been. I feel like from that end of it, we're looking at a lot of problems. Number two, Dragoon is a crime-free area. A lot in part by community awareness and people looking out for each other. We'd like to keep it that way. I can only express my personal grief, and it has nothing to do with the Gear family. It's just I'm one of the few people that came here to get away from people. I like my privacy. I like being able to come home without having to worry about what's creeping around the area. And Heather and Travis both, I think, told me they've had 2 incidents so far involving undesirable and what do you call them? The drones buzzing around and poking through windows. I can only see trouble coming out of this. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Do we have anyone else online, Mr. Taylor, or are we concluded?
Is there anyone else online that wishes to speak to this docket?
Yeah, I would like to just say something quickly.
Who is this, please, and your address?
Hi, my name's Tyler Edwards. I live on West Cox Road in Wilcox. I work at a vineyard in Wilcox, and we have quite a few regular customers from the Dragoon area who come in. And I just wanted to basically say that I support the store opening. I've heard quite a few people come in talking about the store with me there, and everyone seems really excited about it. I've been able to try a little bit of their product at a couple different local events, one being Rex Allen Days in Wilcox, Arizona, and then also an event in Benson at a Lantern Festival. I tried their lemonade, and it was really good. I know that they're going to offer that at the store, and I know there's quite a few people in the immediate area within Wilcox and Dragoon who are pretty excited just to have something in that area. Me and my girlfriend have hiked in that area before, just on a brief little hike, and there's really not anywhere to go. The only options you really have there are to drive all the way to Benson or all the way back home to Wilcox. And then also the Thing, the gas station. However, they don't really offer anything as far as, grocery store items or quick things, to get a bite to eat. And I just think that the store would kind of offer that and kind of fill that blank space. And that's all.
Thank you. At this time, we have 5 minutes for applicant rebuttal. Do you wish to address anything that's been said?
I would like to speak also, if I may.
Who is that speaking?
This is Juan Kwan. I had spoken before on the first issue on the agenda. I would like to speak also here on this final agenda item, if I may.
Go ahead, Mr. Kwan. Thank you, folks.
Thank you. I think the store and the proposal is a good idea for business development. I do not live in the immediate area. I'm very familiar with it because it's only a few minutes drive, perhaps 15 or 20 minutes from where I am. And while it may be a good development business-wise for the community, my concern here are starting with the private ownership of the road. So it involves basically two things. One is the private ownership of the road. The Old Dragoon Road would have to be modified. And while it is still private, my understanding is that not all of the residences, the 7 that the previous gentleman has mentioned, they have not been properly consulted or received mailing to allow them the opportunity to give inputs. And I'm glad that Mr. Jericho is here to address some of his concerns. But the taking over of the private road and not giving the residents there an input are problematic for me as a citizen, because it speaks of an overstepping that needs a formal process and due process for the citizens that do live there, and that they would be given proper notices and given a voice for their own community. And so I would like to see, of course, generally for businesses to be developed and for the communities to thrive. And I do see the great potential that is afforded by a local grocery store and a place where people can meet, as has been done historically. That does not in any way, that should not in any way abridge the rights of private ownership and the voices that those immediately affected, that does not abridge their rights to have their inputs given to the board here. So I would like to surface those two and would ask the board to go back and make sure that each of the residents and the local community have a proper input into this process, and that the private nature of that county road is observed, that it is in the county, but the county does have jurisdiction, but it is a private. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I say something, please?
And who is this, please?
This is Brad Couch. I live at 4566 East Serenity Lane in Dragoon.
Yes, go ahead. State your address.
Thank you. 4566 East Serenity Lane in Dragoon. And first of all, I think it's a great project. This is an existing building that is returning to its original use. So I think that's an important distinction here to make. As far as the notices that folks have talked about, letters were sent out, there were signs posted at the location, and there were signs posted at the local post office. So any resident that said they didn't get notice is not participating in society, maybe, not sure. And the other complaint that I've heard is that people are concerned about Black Prince Road, yet nobody has discussed the store frontage on Black Prince is literally for maybe the first 75 feet. So how this is going to affect the road in its entirety when the store is on the corner of Old Ranch or Black Prince, I'm sorry, Old Ranch is the one folks were concerned with, seems to be an entirely different issue. I'm not sure how somebody going to the store for a cup of tea or a cup of coffee is going to affect somebody a mile down the road that seems to be discussed. And lastly, you know, if it's their private property, it's their right to do with what they want. And if somebody doesn't like it, they moved once, they can move again. It's really straightforward. That should be a non-issue of this whole thing. So needless to say, I just wanted to go on the record again for being in favor of the store. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe it's time to move on, please. The applicant's time. You have 5 minutes to rebut what you've heard.
Thank you for everyone who participated and gave your feedback. I wanted to state that I have personally spoken to 4 of the 6 people. I'm the 7th person that has property on that road, and we have had a lot of very positive feedback and excitement to open the store from the individuals that live on Old Ranch Road, including Jim behind me. So thank you for coming today. I also wanted to just address the concerns and the fears of the idea of possibly more crime or more people coming to Dragoon. We feel strongly that because the property is not vacant, because the lights are on, because we have installed lights, because we have installed cameras, that we are adding to the security. And we also can be almost like I don't want to say a gatekeeper, but we can help inform people about the fact that there are private people that live down the road, that, you know, you should keep to a certain speed, that you shouldn't go past this certain place. You know, we can actually help to give a little bit more, I guess, security is what I'd like to say, to the folks that are concerned about that down the road. Would you like to add anything?
I would just underscore that lights equal security, cameras equal security. There's already been several individual events where we've been able to provide some footage from a rail camera that we installed. We're participating in the Southwest rail cams with a camera positioned in front of the store that overlooks the train crossing, and it's used by many train enthusiasts. It's also captured some interesting things that have helped local law enforcement when they're looking into things in the area. So I think these are good partnerships in security. Certainly people and presence deter, and so I think that over time will probably prove to be an asset and maybe assuage fears. We're also very interested in the parking, in the potential conflict in traffic on Old Ranch Road. I'm going to defer some over time with Jim. Jim's an expert in logistics, and we want to include the residents of Old Ranch Road in those discussions. But I think one of the things that we can do is pull back off of our plan we had on the original document, the original planning document that we submitted. Michael, I think there is a picture of a small building proposed out front, which we were going to use for additional supplies and storage of cups and boxes and store-related items. We can scratch that, and we could consider that additional parking space. We're willing to do whatever is necessary, including helping to police the area, to hang signs, to encourage patrons of the store to pull in fully off the road, and to keep that clear for ingress and egress for the residents of Old Ranch Road. So I want to just iterate that we're going to be really good partners in that, and hopefully that will, in time, assuage concerns.
Thank you. Public hearing is now closed. This is the time for commissioners to ask questions of the applicant or staff. Anyone?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Limbach?
I hate to have you come back up again, but can you briefly address the law enforcement presence in Dragoon? For instance, what if there has been a need to contact the sheriffs? What is the response time?
Well, it varies, and we're rural, so each instance is unique. There's oftentimes patrols, so sometimes there is somebody in the area. I couldn't give an exact clock, cycle to how long it takes for a typical response, and I think it somewhat varies on what's being reported. the priority and what, how much importance is placed on it. But the participation from law enforcement and the follow-up has been really good to anything that we've reported so far. Sometimes we're just passing along things, and that's I think a little bit of a testament to what a general store fixed where we're at is going to be, is a hub for communication. Things get passed to us, and if it's something that we feel should be reported, we pass that along.
So based on your interaction with the local community, you feel that, or they kind of agree with you that local law enforcement, that the response time is appropriate for whatever the issue is, for the most part?
Well, I believe so, considering that there's no local office and that they're typically pretty quick to respond. I think they do as best they can to prioritize our needs.
Thank you.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes, Heather and Travis, it's refreshing to see young people willing to roll the dice and take your chances and building an economy in a town that has 187 people. And it's known for being crime-free, so I don't know this nonsense about. It's not a ghetto, it's not a crime-ridden area. It's an area where people get along and people come to build their stuff and to do good things. I want to congratulate you on your efforts and your determination to make this little community. I drive by all the time, and I don't see the crime issues and all that, because you're getting up the freeway and you don't want to go to Dragoon. You want to go somewhere else. But I also am aware of some of the shops in Sunsites that have gone down economically and all that. So it makes it more important that you, young, going to be there a long time, and that you already have acceptance by the people there and the people passing through, and that you're going to be there a while. So I'm pleased to, and I wish you well.
Thank you. Any other questions? Ms. Pickett?
I just have a statement. I've lived in Cochise County all my life. I remember stopping at that store with my family and having soda and ice cream, and we always loved it.
Do you remember what year that was?
Yes, I know.
Roughly?
Well, I was probably about 10, maybe in that area. We would haul hay into, we raised hay, we'd haul it into the area. And so that would have been back in the early 50s or late 50s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We've also tried, this is not revolving the store, but one thing that we're trying to do is create a video series called Dragoonies, where we invite people to come on or drop by and take a video and tell us their story so that we can capture the oral history and of the people that live there. And a few months ago, we met a woman who lived there as a small child at the Johnson Mine, and she talked all about the builder, J.H. Smith. She remembered him. She learned how to dance the jitterbug inside the store back in the day, and they used to do pool tournaments there as well. So it's a pretty vibrant place back in the day. So
it was.
It's kind of fun to hear all the stories.
Interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have one question, Mr. Taylor. Black Prince Road and Old Ranch Road, those are private. County has no purview.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, Black Prince Road is within the county's jurisdiction. It does have a functional classification as a local road, and it is improved. Old Ranch Road is a private road, but it has been recognized as a publicly accessible road, I believe going back to the 1880s.
So what does that mean to county? There's no maintenance on either one.
So Black Prince Road is maintained by the county. Old Ranch Road is not maintained by the county. It is private. However, it is publicly accessible. The county bears no maintenance liability or maintenance responsibility for that road. Would like to add, since this has become kind of an issue, we did receive 18 responses from areas, people in the community. One was in opposition, and that was from Mr. Jericho. And we did receive some input from another individual on Old Ranch Road, also in opposition, concerns about publicly using Old Ranch Road. I would like to state that as far as also with regard to the notification, we did send notices to property owners within 300 feet. The property owners on Old Ranch Road that have been in opposition to this project due to Old Ranch Road's potential use are well beyond our notification boundary. It looks like okay, I'll take that back. So that's it, Madam Chair. I just wanted to share that. But it is a publicly accessible road in it, and as the Commission is probably aware, it does access some historically significant sites as far as the old Butterfield stage, as well as some grave sites.
I guess my only concern is Black Prince Road. They have these 4 parking places there. Is there an edge of pavement issue? Will they have to pull a right-of-way permit?
Madam Chair, that is correct. A right-of-way permit would be required, and we would evaluate that and likely require some improvements along Black Prince to have those 4 angled parking spaces next to the building.
Okay, all right.
Madam Chair, if I might.
Who is that, please?
It's Jericho.
Mr. Jericho, the time for public comment is closed. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to make a brief comment.
Mr. Jericho, not now, sir. Thank you. Please mute yourself.
I will have a quick question.
Mr. Montgomery, go ahead.
Is this a good time?
Good time.
Good time. Okay. Strangely, I am a bit familiar with that location as my work takes me through there on a pretty regular basis. I have family and friends living there. About 187 population, is that what we said?
Yeah.
I probably know at least 30, 35 of those folks. And they would, they'd be delighted to have an opportunity like this. One concern was the speed limits, and I know from experience in many other projects that can be addressed pretty quickly. And if there were some real problems about that, I believe there's a man familiar with 50 caliber ammunition living nearby. And I suppose he knows about other calibers as well, and people who do. So I think you folks, if that were to be a problem, you could fix it, right? Pretty quickly? Okay. Then back to property rights, it's always a big issue here. And I think this is the definition of it. And I hope that this will work out well. And everybody can prosper and be happy.
Thank you. Anyone else on the commission?
Madam Chair, we do have Jackie Watkins, the Director of Engineering and Natural Resources, on the line, and Jackie's very familiar with this Old Ranch Road issue. I don't know if Jackie wished to speak, but I believe that she could add some additional details on that issue.
Sure. Ms. Watkins?
Thank you. Yes, Jackie Watkins, County Engineer. Old Ranch Road at that location adjacent to the store is public right-of-way. It is platted from the town site. It is not a county maintained road, but it is public right-of-way. The other road is also public right-of-way, and that is a county maintained road. And they would have to get a right-of-way permit. I mean, you can have parking in the right-of-way when it's a speed limit of 25 and basically in a town site, and that would be done by permit.
Thank you, Jackie. Anyone else, gentlemen? Right, I think we will close this portion and ask Mr. Taylor for his summary and recommendation.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Based on the factors in favor of approval, staff recommends approval of docket SU 2409 to allow a grocery store with the following conditions. The applicant shall provide on-site parking for site users that meets or exceeds the requirements of section 2.51040 of the zoning regulations, and staff believes that this condition does mitigate concerns of any irregular turning movements or potentially unlawful parking along Old Ranch Road. The standard conditions involving permitting timelines, modifications are not altered by this application. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. I'd like to call for this motion, please.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Martsky.
I move to approve docket SU 2409 with conditions of approval recommended by staff. Factors in favor of approval constitute the findings of fact.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Is there any further discussion?
Sir, this is long.
I'd like to call for this question. Mr. Montgomery, can we mute them?
Yeah.
Mr. Kwan? Oh, it's Mr. Young. Hi, our Commissioner. Mr. Young, we're hearing you. Mr. Montgomery, how do you vote on this docket?
I will happily vote aye to approve this project.
Mr. Limbach?
Aye.
Mr. Watkins?
Aye.
Mr. Young now?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Mr. Martsky?
Aye.
And Ms. Pickett?
Aye, and good luck.
Good luck.
And the chair votes aye. This motion carries. An individual disagreeing with this action has the right to appeal to the Board of Supervisors within 15 days. An application for appeal is available from the clerk at the office Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, or online at cochise.az.gov. Thank you very much. Have one final item. Who's presenting?
So we have 5 dockets for next month. We were going to table this item, the work session. Christine had to go.
Are we going to table it?
Well,
Okay.
I'm going to wing it so we can keep this moving. It is just a work session, so it is an informal conversation of the commission and staff concerning the comprehensive plan update that we have begun. So the next slide. So the comp plan basically is staff's guide and P&Z's guide and the Board of Supervisors guide. It's required by state law, and it serves as a guide for a lot of our recommendations. It enables zoning. It's typically updated about every 10 years. And so the current one that we have now is 2015, so we're coming up on 10 years. Next slide, please. This talks about the timeline for the comp plan update. This will be the first of a number of work sessions. So by getting through this tonight with the land use element, it's possible you might see, if we don't have too heavy of a docket load, more work sessions concerning the comp plan. There are a number of elements that are required to be in the comprehensive plan. And we don't want to give it to you all at one time. We want to kind of spoon feed this to you. And it's also easier for us staff to do it that way as well. I mentioned the last one was approved in 2015, and we are looking at a target date of approval of this by the Board of Supervisors in spring of 2025. So we are do our best to engage the public when it comes to updating the comprehensive plan. We will be having work sessions with you, work sessions with the Board of Supervisors. We will look at getting out into the community, providing those opportunities for members of the community to participate. We're currently looking at a online public engagement software to allow the public to give us comments, put pins on a map, let us know what's important to them, and to hopefully have full engagement in the development of this plan. So we did already have a meeting with the Board of Supervisors on May 1st. Although the Planning and Zoning Commission, will be reviewing our draft elements prior to being put into the plan, and a work session with the Board of Supervisors before their final approval next spring. As I mentioned, we'll focus on specific plan elements, land use, circulation, water, resources, and energy. Area plans that are currently, you can find them online, they're part of our comprehensive plan. We will be getting rid of the area plans, partially because they're becoming dated. The Board of Supervisors has concerns with development of area plans and the minimum participation or little participation we receive from the public. They don't necessarily like that a few people attend the meeting for an area-wide plan for an entire community. So we're looking at other options to replace the area-wide plans, possibly overlay districts, but that hasn't been decided yet. There's quite a few area-wide plans. Naco is one of them. Sunsites has one that's pretty dated. Pretty much all our small communities in the unincorporated areas have area-wide plans. So there have been a number of changes to the comp plan. Some of them you have seen. Usually this is to enable a rezoning. We're going to look at cleaning up the land use boundaries, move away from arbitrary, movable, or environmental objects, wash parcel lines. We're looking at putting together a future land use map, which will be in compliance with state requirements. And then identify some of the current land use issues that we are facing that you as a commission hear all the time from members of the public, especially when they're in opposition to a particular docket item. These are the state requirements for the land use element. I'll just go ahead and read it. Proposed general distribution and location and extent of uses of the land for housing, business, and industry, agricultural, recreation, education, public buildings and grounds, open space, and other categories of public and private uses of land appropriate to the county. Christine's analysis showed that we're currently not in compliance for state law. We'll also look at population density and building intensity recommended for various land use categories covered by the plan. Currently, we are in partial compliance. Here's an example of a future land use map in the Wilcox area that we will look at implementing for the county-wide. This could be fairly challenging because we are a large county, 6,000 square miles, and trying to determine what future land uses that are unknown and where they go. So we'll work through this. It probably will look a little bit different than what you see around the cities where they have, the zonings in place that typically dictate the land, future land use by zoning. But we should be looking for areas that can easily be rezoned or apply for commercial permits to support economic development in the county. And the City of Service is another example of a future land use plan. Although with this one, I think it primarily just follows existing zoning, their land use plans with maybe some exceptions in there. So we'll have to have specific programs and policies that the county may use to promote compact form development activity and locations where those development patterns should be encouraged. Typically, this is around your urban areas where you have adequate infrastructure for sewer and water. We'll consider air quality and access to incident solar energy for all general categories of land use. Policies that address maintaining a broad variety of land uses, including the range of uses existing in the county at the time of the plan is adopted, readopted, or amended, and provide sources of aggregate map and include policies to avoid incompatible land uses near mines. So the current land use issues facing Cochise County, balancing our population growth, even though we're not growing very quickly, with the preservation of the rural character. As you hear often, that's why people move here. They like the rural, quiet nature of our county and typically want to be kind of left alone out there. But they do find our county very beautiful, and it's important that we do our best to try to protect those natural landscapes. With rural development, though, you can often see sprawl. We see this outside of the Sierra Vista area, primarily where most of our growth is here in Cochise County. The zombie subdivisions, we also call these antiquated plats. There's thousands of lots that are platted in Cochise County prior to zoning, when the zoning was implemented in the 70s. Many of these lots do end up in back taxes. Currently, the number of lots in back taxes is around 1,800. We don't auction these properties. What we are trying to do is assemble. You have seen in the past some rezonings of these properties where we've assembled them, rezoned them, downzoned them to either to 4-acre lots typically, and then we'll put them on the auction. But since there are literally tens of thousands of these lots out there, it does take time to do that. Diversify our economy. As we all know, Fort Huachuca is the main economic driver here in southeast Arizona. We do have some exciting opportunities with our new commercial port of entry to help with trade, more trade with Mexico, which will benefit Cochise County. Long-term agricultural sustainability. The Sulphur Springs Valley is primarily agricultural based. The comp plan can do set policies and goals in order to try to protect the agricultural lands that we have in the Sulphur Springs Valley. Water management, and then planning for climate change resilience. So just the process, we'll create a draft, 6-day review transmittal, make corrections, final draft, public hearing before the P&Z, then a public hearing before the Board of Supervisors. So this is your opportunity to talk with us about any land use issues the commission can identify, or anything else that you want to talk about when it comes to land uses and you would like to see in our future general plan for Cochise County.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Coxworth or comments?
If it's not completely irrelevant, I do have one. And it's not about anything we've discussed, but I'm curious about the status of the Miracle Valley project out there.
The Miracle Valley project, we just completed our last authorized cleanup of the property, of removing the fuel tanks. And that property will be put on the auction, is scheduled to be put on the auction this summer. But that will be up to the Board of Supervisors, and that decision has not yet been made.
Okay, is there some dismantling going on of the structures?
Currently, there are no plans to dismantle any of the structures, but that could change in the future.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to suggest that all the commissioners pull off ARS 11-804, the comprehensive plan, which is referred to, I think, in one of the slides. There's some pretty awesome powers we have here for setting up land use in the county.
And generally how the comp plan works is the zoning we have in place. If somebody were to rezone a piece of property, the first place we go is the comp plan to see whether it's allowed. So that's why you see comp plan amendments. One thing that we may consider, the RU4 zoning really isn't allowed in a lot of areas in the county. There's a few different elements to the comp plan. We have our comp plan designations of developing enterprise, neighborhood rehabilitation, enterprise rehabilitation. And these essentially enable zoning that may take place. So where you have areas like Fry Townsite and Sierra Vista, those county enclaves, those areas are designated neighborhood rehabilitation, I believe, which really provides us with the opportunity to spot zone in that area if somebody's looking to do a commercial business. Anything that could, any type of proposal, rezoning or a special use permit in that area that would support really that community and that neighborhood and provide some economic benefit. Then we have our growth areas in the county. We have A, B, C, and D, D being the rural. Those dictate our development standards. So typically if you're near a city, the growth boundary just outside the city is A. We have the highest development standards in A, including landscaping, paving your parking lot. And then if you go to a D area, we don't have those requirements. C and D typically have much less requirements of no landscaping. You don't have to pave your parking lot. Those are more appropriate for the rural areas, but our growth boundaries are the A and B are best around our urban areas. And those are areas where you would expect to be annexed. So we want to have an urban standard for those growth boundaries. I think that's all I can add, but, you know, happy to hear anything that you have. I know it's starting to get late, but I think it was better than having it next meeting. Not sure how long we'll be here for that one.
I have a concern. Often we have proposals or dockets regarding solar and fuels, battery issues, whatever. Is there a way to put more teeth and get more focused on what our goal really is as we are trying to protect our beautiful county? These things are coming from different directions at different levels. And we have to start from ground zero every time that somebody comes up with it. Can we identify areas that, or like mentioned before, the slag piles or land that has already been used or developed so that we don't use any more cattle country or farmland and all that as sites for solar fields. We have plenty of land like that that's not used. And we can say, well, if you want to build solar fields or solar whatever, work with Phelps-Dodge, Freeport McMoran, and work with these mining companies that have land and everything use. We can identify parcels or pieces of land where that would have to be a fit that those companies would have to adjust. Not us. We're trying hard, the bird corridor, all of the, every time that we hear this, new concerns come up. Chemicals, flooding, fires, all these things, and we start from scratch all the time. We should be able to say, look, if your project is not in these designated areas where it is allowed, we don't want to hear it. And you have no place to stand here in Cochise County. There's a lot of land in the state where these things can happen. We don't have to sacrifice our precious Cochise County landscape and habitat and all of its uniqueness, historical and otherwise, to solar panels.
It's a good point. What you see often as a commission and the board of supervisors is the market reacting to policies and incentives oftentimes, or the market just reacting to the market. When marijuana was made legal medically and then for recreational purposes, you saw a lot of marijuana dockets. Yeah. Not all of them have been built. It's really just an entitlement process. They're not going to invest much money into a project unless they know they at least have that entitlement. You're seeing a lot of solar projects because of the federal incentives that are in place. I would say probably 3 out of 10 of those projects actually get built. We can identify areas in the county where solar is best placed, but to interfere with the market, depending on one, land that's available for sale, willing partners, access to existing utility where they can plug that solar into, is challenging for us at the county level to determine, and that's why we require all of these to go through a special use permit. So there is a public hearing every time. We did have discussions when we were revising the zoning regulations to modernize the regulations for solar to require bonding, to look for areas where it could be permitted use by right, where they wouldn't have to come before the Planning and Zoning Commission. That may be something that we could look at again. There might be areas of the county that are so remote, the land of not very that much value for anything else besides solar panels and array. From an economic development perspective, which isn't really in the purview of the Planning and Zoning Commission, solar panels do take up, and as do agricultural uses like marijuana or other agricultural uses, take up a lot of land. The use of the land dramatically, well, not dramatically, but increases the value of that land and the tax base without having to provide any services to the development of that land. What's the highest and best use of a property isn't necessarily within our purview to decide. We leave that up to the market. But there are some things we can do to try to address that, Mr. Gonzalez. Sure.
I think we should look at the total picture. It might be a small positive economic gain to have a solar field out there. But what happens to all of the private properties around it and the value of them? And the fear that people go through that might be chemicals, it's going to be a fire. And we're close to Mexico. If there's a flood or something like that, it takes out a solar field. How do we deal with Mexico if it goes across the line? You know, we have this shared aquifer, and we don't know the impact, the true impact that all these solar panels are having on the aquifer, because we're not there yet. But eventually we'll find out. It might be too late, but it's a shared aquifer with Mexico. And we're not prepared to deal with international issues at that level at this point. So we have to think about that.
So to both your points, economic issues are not included in the statute for us to consider. However, the comprehensive plan shall be developed so as to conserve the natural resources of the county.
Of course, yeah.
So there's a lot to consider here.
I have one more question, and I'm not really sure for you all whether this is an appropriate time to ask, but I think it needs to be asked, be thought about prior to us having the solar people here in September the 11th. Has anybody considered that that's in a triangle with two airports? And what is that? What does the FAA consider as a reflection off of a solar array? How does that affect pilots that are coming into land or taking off? I have pilots in my family, and this was a question that sort of came up about it. I have pulled this off. You have Douglas Bisbee International here. You have the college airport here, and right here is where this array is going to be. I don't know the answer, but I think it should be something that's taken into consideration. I know when I was younger, we didn't have phones, radios, or anything else. Kids in schools go, how did you live? And if we wanted my dad to come in out of the field, I could spot him with a mirror 2 miles away. And he knew what that was. And it would be, as he said, when he was blinded by this bright light, he knew that we were wanting him to come to lunch or whatever it was. So what happens with this with pilots? They're always talking about the lasers blinding the pilots when they're in performance of their duties. And I'm just curious about that, if the FAA has ever been considered about that?
Sure. As an additional duty with the county, oversee the 2 county airports that the county owns. We have actually had proposals to place solar at the airports. BDI is a good example. We have 2,400 acres out there. If you fly in and out of Tucson, you can see the solar panels. I think as you're mostly coming into Tucson, there's fairly large utility scale arrays there. I work with the FAA a lot because of the 2 airports that the county owns, and I haven't heard any concerns from them about the glare caused by the solar arrays to pilots. Not that it doesn't happen, but considering we were looking at putting solar on our airport property, and the FAA hasn't expressed concerns with me, I think it's worth following up with the FAA to ensure that, but solar is designed to be anti-reflective because that way it absorbs more sunlight anyway. And also it helps with preventing birds from thinking it's a lake as well. But just hasn't come up. There's north of Fort Huachuca and the Baba Kamari, there's a very large solar array under construction right now. Fort Huachuca's concerns didn't have to do with glare and pilots. It had to do with sourcing of the panels and the sensitive nature of Fort Huachuca.
While we're on
Thank
the,
you.
while we're on the issue of solar panels, one of the objectives is for climate change resilience. I'm not a big believer in climate change as a whole. However, scientific studies do show that large arrays of solar panels increase local temperature anywhere from 5 to 10 plus degrees. So we're creating climate change with the solar panels.
We've had internal discussions about that, of how it elevates the temperatures near solar farms, but so do parking lots. And we don't, consider large Walmart parking lots. We should get rid of those. So I think it's a balance, as you're alluding to, protecting what we have, in the county and our rural nature. When it comes to uses, there's always 2 sides of the coin. There's land available. If you don't want to develop, the best thing to do is for you to buy that land and not develop it. But that's not always possible, and that really isn't fair to people that live in this community. So anyway, I don't.
Yeah, Camp Roof. That was a hard decision, Camp Roof.
They are hard decisions, and I think when it comes to, and it's hard to be in where you're sitting because you're hearing both sides, and you do want to see the county progress in a positive way. You want to see property develop, but that always has to be balanced with why people live here, but also to protect it so other people want to live here as well.
I guess I have one other thing I'd like, maybe for us, I think would be appropriate into this comprehensive plan is solar arrays, whatever, they have a life. And at the end, I would like to see maybe we develop a plan as to how that would be cleaned up and taken care of.
Sure. Our zoning regulations were changed within the last couple of years to require bonding, and specifically just for that. There are some areas in California, for example, large wind farms where they didn't have that in place, and there's no mechanism to require them to clean that up. So with a bond, if for some reason the market changes and they're not using solar anymore and these are abandoned, or the technology changes and they're left sitting there, we have a bond that we can pull to clean it up.
Right.
if the property owner doesn't clean it up. Or if they're bankrupt and they can't clean it up, we've got a financial tool to clean it up.
You know, it hasn't happened here yet, but the event that those panels catch on fire. They're so close together, you think that it would just spread because they're hot. Is there a way that we could ensure those companies have insurance and enough resources to clean that up and compensate whatever private property damages they cause? If they're, right now their position is let it burn. You know, they don't go in there and try to put it on. That's what we hear. But this gotta be always say, well, you gotta have insurance and protection in the event that these things happen. And when we ask them, we don't ask them those questions when they come. We're talking about wildlife and all that. What is the value of this destroyed wildlife? And, you know, and it's like you say, we want to do the right thing. And in some of these things, we have different generations of panels that apparently cause different things. And hopefully we're headed where we can all get along. We come up with the right solution, science and everything, but we're not there yet. We need to be able to protect our properties and our citizens.
I will say I've never heard of a solar array catching fire, not that it hasn't happened or there's potential for it to happen. These are hundreds of $1 million investments.
Yeah.
And there actually was a question Mr. Limbach about insurance that will be was addressed by that applicant, will be discussed in September. But these are expensive projects not to have the adequate insurance in place because I'm sure these are financed. Nobody's just writing a check for $200 million. And these are financed by banks and I'm sure insurance is involved.
But we don't know.
Not yet. Late September, we'll hear about it.
Yeah, okay. So
Hopefully.
I'm thinking of the Sulphur Springs project on Central. Insurance did come up. And it was covered. You know, Sulphur Springs wanted to make sure they were covered. And it's a multi-million-dollar project. If something happens to it, I'm involved in it. I want to make sure there's insurance policy. I guess so.
And so the importance of the general plan, you know, there's criteria in our zoning regulations that you use in order to analyze a request. That could be enabled by the comprehensive plan and changes in the comprehensive plan. So think of ways that the comp plan could be written for goals or policies in the comp plan that could be used by the commission for a lot of things, for the concerns that you have, that can then is in a document that's adopted. And when you're thinking about it, making a decision and you're weighing it, you're actually looking at the policies that are in place in order to justify your decision as to whether you approve it or not, or deny it.
It's about as smart as we can get tonight.
I need a chairman favor. These people online are speaking up and I'm creating a pickle letting them all talk. Can we somehow quantify those folks that are calling in?
I would suggest that people submit to us. And we haven't gone out to the public yet with this. They will have ample opportunity to participate in
Not just this one, Dan. I'm typically, go ahead, everybody talks, you know.
Work sessions are between staff and the commission or between staff and the board of supervisors.
Yeah.
And there typically isn't an opportunity. Now when
No, you're missing my point. During our general dockets, people just start speaking up online and I have no request forms. I have nothing. I need to get control of that, I think, because I'm going to get bombarded at some point by just saying yes to everybody. So I don't.
we'll do our best to control for that. At the end of the day, though, you got to let people have their say.
Yeah, and that's generally how I react to it. And I'd
Yeah.
like to continue doing that, but
We do. We'll look at how we're noticing these and maybe making it more clear that people need to request to speak in advance.
Yeah.
But again, if they didn't see it, we just have to let people have their say.
Well, and we should be encouraging public participation.
Yeah.
We want that more and more and more and more. I
Absolutely.
just don't want to get this commission cornered into listening to 90 people because I was careless.
Yeah. And that's at your discretion. If we have a requirement of requesting to speak 24 hours in advance, you can enforce that.
Change that. You have to sign in before 9 o'clock for the board.
The changes that the state is now putting upon us that are different from what we have now, so we could look at it other than boom in that.
Good question.
In a work session, have something that we could take home. What we used to do way back is we'd write out what we were looking for, and then everyone would take it home and study it. And then as we try to put rules and regulations together, we're all on the same sheet, and we had something to work with and a goal to look at. I'm going to start out here with nothing.
Maybe Christine could quantify
What do you do with this hunk of land?
Yeah.
What do you do with this hunk of land? And
the areas she wrote non-compliance. Could we define those?
Sure, we'll provide that to you. This really is just the first introduction to the comp plan change.
Right.
Getting your initial thoughts prior to us going out for public, coming back to you with a draft element for this. I don't know if anything has changed in state law in the last 10 years. It's possible that the plan from 2015 just didn't quite meet the compliance that was required by state law back then. So I don't know, but Christine will listen to this, I'm sure, and can help answer those questions.
One more question. What is our legal liability pending? They would make a decision, it goes to the board, they concur with us, and it becomes something that doesn't go right, and it becomes legally challenged. Does it come all the way back down to us, or what is?
As citizens of Cochise County know, I mean, I'm not an attorney, I don't think that attorneys are here, but you're worrying about being sued because of a decision that you made? I think that's minimal. They would sue the county if they were egregious.
Hey guys, this is Paul Correa. I am out here online, and I can answer that question if you'd like. First, you guys are acting in a quasi-legislative manner if you're changing the ordinances or the plan. You're acting pursuant to the statute, making up rules essentially. And second, anything that is done in your capacity as commissioners is going to be covered by our ASIP insurance. So no worries there. Just do your best. That's all that you're asked to do.
Thank you, Mr. Correa. We ready to adjourn?
I'll just say we have 5 dockets next month, a couple thousands. I don't know if we'll have another work session for another element of the general plan. We'll decide that later. But thank you.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your time. It was very good. Thank you very much.